in the tent for the night. I'm sharpening the broadheads, get them all ready for in the morning if I need them. Almost a full moon tonight, which doesn't affect the deer activity as much as people may think. So I will see you in the deer stand in the morning. Good morning. Opening day of archery season in Wisconsin. 55 degrees in the tent this morning when I left. Seen a lot of squirrels, red squirrels, no deer. High today 80, tonight 57 for a low. So, I'm gonna give it a few more minutes and then I'll head back to camp. Really nice morning, clear sky, but no current activity. And we'll try it again this evening. And this evening I'll go to the stand that is 80 yards that way. That seems to be more of an afternoon evening stand, at least from what I'm seeing on the trail camera. Now also we've had deer on that camera at 8 in the morning, 10 in the morning, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, so it's early season, just trying to get out here and possibly put one down. It is quite warm. Let's see what the official temperature here is at camp. We're still holding it 72, 74. I saw on one of the Facebook groups that I'm part of, they were saying that it was too warm to deer hunt, and just wait and don't disturb anything. And somebody said one of his buddies got an 8-point this morning, right early this morning. So you can't, as far as I know, you can't really kill many deer when you're sitting in the tent or in the living room watching TV. You can, however, what is it, in Dunkin' Donuts? Or was it Noodles and Company? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I will see you in the stand then. It is warm tonight. No wind moving. Up in stand number 2 where I harvested all the deer from last year in the stand. Let's see if I can show you here. Right down there is the trail camera. Right through there is where they're funneling. They're coming right along the trail camera. And right in front is this old logging road. Now, that's where they've been coming on camera. But last year, hold on, I harvested both bucks right there. And then later on I harvested over by where the camera's at. So we'll see what happens. Back at camp, no activity. Red squirrels, an owl right at dark, and pretty much no wind. For the first 45 minutes I just sat in the stand and sweated. And then it kind of cooled off a little bit. But when I got down, you know, if there's something in the area, maybe kind of spook it. You know, when you get down, I coughed. I didn't mean to cough, but coughed. Walked all the way about 300 yards from camp, and nothing. So, it's a warm day. Nothing appears to be traveling or moving. Or, I mean, they're bedded down, and they're not moving at all. So, good morning. Did not go out and hunt this morning. It's very humid, and it was uncomfortable yesterday sitting and just sweating. So didn't do that. I got other things I can do today. Next week it should be much better. Well, I'm going to head out to the tree stand. 68 degrees, a few showers here and there, sprinkle here and there. Possible rain tonight, 54 I think for a low. So we'll go out and see if, with this weather change coming, if that's going to make things more active or what will happen. I'm going to take chair out and stage it in the woods, and then tomorrow I'll take it back to where the blind is at and put it over there. So we shall see how this goes. It may not be 80 degrees like it was last week, but it sure still is humid once you get out and start walking in the woods, even just sitting. So I'm up in the stand. Wind's blowing this way, so wait, hold on, let me see. I think that's coming this way, which is good because most times any deer ever come in, they've always come in this direction. It's blowing my scent that way. I'm excited to hunt in the morning when it's supposed to be 54. I'm up in the stand that I harvested all 3 deer last year out of. So we'll see what happens here. 6:36. Still got a little, about an hour left of daylight, or legal hunting time. Clouds have moved in. There's some rain coming in, spotty. Getting awful dark. The wind has picked up. Have seen no activity. But it'll be dark about 15-20 minutes before legal hunting time is over. Got the wind swirling all over the place. It's going this way right now, and then goes that way. Supposed to have a chance of thunderstorms tonight. I would think there'd be more activity happening tomorrow, being cooler tonight, cooler tomorrow. But we'll see. I'm not surprised I haven't seen anything. But it went from dead quiet to really windy. There's a little more light than what the camera's picking up, but we're still about 30 minutes out from end of legal hunting time, and it's getting really hard for me to see besides what's right in front of me. I'm being tucked in the woods here, so I think, and with the rain, I mean, rain is fine, rain is good. That deer still move, but to identify anything is going to be even harder, so I think I'm going to have to call this, go to the camp, get supper going, and get prepared for in the morning when it's supposed to be nice and cool. Well, it's on and off raining right now, and it just was too dark, even though we still had 25 plus minutes. Supposedly 7:42 was the end of hunting time, and 7:18 is what time it is, and it's pretty much dark. Pretty with the rain coming. Yeah, 7:08, and I need to add 4 minutes to where I'm at, so that's 7:12. Well, here, hold on, let's figure this out. And I'm looking at the hunting regulations for Wisconsin. I grew up in Illinois, where what it said on the paper, based on the time of year, you had to add or take away, figure out your own math. It was just sunset, sunrise, sunset, that was it. So this is 30 minutes before sunrise to 20 minutes after sunset for Zone A. If you're in the northern area, if hunting in other zones, add the specific minutes found on page 29, which is 4. So we can go a half hour after. So that would have been 4, which would have been 12 plus 10, so 7:22. So I was off on my math. So anyway, it's now end of legal hunting time in 2 minutes. But because of the way the rain is, and you can hear it, there was no way that I was going to see anything. And when it gets too dark to see, even if it's legal hunting time, I'm not sitting out there in the rain or in whatever it is. So that's important to have one of these. I have one of these at the house and here. One of these hunting, Illinois has them, Wisconsin, I'm assuming every state has them. So With this rain coming in, it's supposed to get cold tonight, or colder. Like I talked about, 56, and then a high tomorrow of 66, and today was coming in was 73 plus, so that's what it is for the hunting of today. First day of fall. 58 in the tent this morning. So I've been about 58 outside because I didn't have the stove going. Came out of the tent and it was just kind of a mist. And then got in the stand in the wind. There was a lot of water on the leaves from last night and from that mist. So I don't think it actually rained. It was just misting this morning. Which makes everything so, you can't hear anything It's almost 10 o'clock. I haven't seen nothing but 2 squirrels. So, I'm going to say the second weekend of bow season, not so successful. I'm going to head down. Got a chair I need to put in the deer blind I built a couple of weeks ago. And then had breakfast already and head back to the tent. And we'll go from there. This morning about 4 o'clock I got up and there was a deer snorting within within 50 to 80 yards of the tent. 4 or 5 times it snorted. I couldn't identify exactly where it was at because when you're in the tent it distorts the noise a little bit. But there's definitely a deer out here, at least this morning at 4 o'clock. Alright, 74, but I gotta go out because you can't shoot anything when you're sitting in the tent. And I'm sitting here sweating already, but it's supposed to get down to 49 tonight, so we'll see if that transition between now 74 and 49, if something will happen underneath that stand where we've seen the bucks and the does all this week. So I will see you out in the tree stand. About 4:20. 4:23. It's a warm 74 degrees. Now, you can see in the pictures where these deer walked this last week underneath this stand. Trail camera is right 6 feet to your left. They just kind of been in this area down here. Obviously the angle of shooting is more challenging with a bow because of the exit to get both lungs. So you can't shoot like straight down. It's not a good ethical shot. So we'll see what we can make happen here. Oh, the warmest day of the week. I'll be in the stand tomorrow morning as well. Well, didn't see anything, but heard one. Legal hunting time was 6:10 or 7:10, and at 7:05, 35, give it 40 yards in front of me, which you can't see at that point. 5 minutes before legal hunting end of time, you can't see anything except for what's right, within 10 yards of you. And I heard something come in, and you could hear it, distinctly know it was a deer walking. And then it stomped. I don't know how, if it saw me, which I don't know how it would have. It was almost completely dark. If it smelled me, which I don't know how it could have. There was no wind moving. But it didn't like something. It stomped twice, and then you could hear it run back out from the way it came, and then it snorted twice, and then it trotted a little bit more, and then that was it. I went ahead and climbed down, because at that point hunting time was over. But as I climbed down, I hooted like a barred owl 3 times as I descended from the tree, just for the off chance maybe he or it, a doe or whatever it was, whatever type of deer it was, would hear that and think otherwise, like maybe I misjudged it. I don't know. So I think it was it was that stand, and I think it was this weekend a year ago that coming in on the left-hand side, there was a deer or 2 that snorted and blew and then trotted off. I'd have to check video, but I think that it was right around this time frame as well. So that's the story. And we'll go out to that stand again in the morning, since that has been the most active stand, and see if we can get something to walk in and be curious enough to stay put until I fire an arrow at it. looks like another no-go for today. Didn't hear anything this morning. It was really quiet for quite some time. 48 degrees this morning. So, this was the stand that had all the activity. Now next weekend, two things. One is Saturday and Sunday is the youth hunt here in Wisconsin. So I have to wear orange when I come out of the stand, which is not a big deal. And two, Friday night, 38 for a low. And Saturday night, 35 or 36 for a low. So that'll really get the leaves to drop, really put a chill in the air. It may help accelerate some of the seeing some deer. It's going to be a hunting weekend, some food, nothing's fancy. Up here on a Friday evening, to head out to the tree stand, the one that we put up last week, and see if we can get the elusive white-tailed deer and put some meat in the freezer. Absolutely beautiful evening, 61 degrees, low tonight 36, high tomorrow I think 71. Not a sound, no wind. This is what you look for. It is dry as can be, high fire warnings around, so you'll be able to hear every little thing that walks through. So I will get to the stand, which is about 80 yards across the way here, and I'll see you up in the stand once I get situated. Quiet out there. When I walked into camp, the leaves just echoed on the trees. Dry, extremely dry. So if something was going to walk in, I would have heard it. Even if I wouldn't have seen it, I would have heard it first. So, going to go back out to that same stand. I left the bow hanger and the strap that goes around the tree that hooks onto my safety harness on the tree. I'll go out there in the morning. I did pull the SD card that was on that camera right below the stand. I want to see what's on that because I know not everything that was... I know there's more pictures than what was sent through the app. That's just the reality of it. I'll be extremely surprised if there's not. As we know, we had that one deer Wednesday evening at 6:22, and I'll see what else. Comes or is on that camera. I'll go out to that stand tomorrow morning, and then I'll kind of evaluate what to do after that if I don't see anything. So that's the advantage of coming up on a Friday night. I get an extra bonus hunt, 2 bonus hunts, realistically. Yeah, two. I double my hunt time, double my sitting time, because I'm going Friday night, Saturday night. Otherwise, it's Saturday night, Sunday morning. Okay, so I was looking through. There's a lot. I mean, there's probably 10 or 15 pictures that I never got through the app, just because the signal was weak. The stand in which I was in tonight, there was the Wednesday night that was a doe that went through, and it did show me a little bit more. I'll show you here how it's walking. So I'd kind of walk in front of the tree stand a little bit, and then I put this up last Sunday afternoon, and whatever day the night, and last Sunday night, 1839. What is that? 8:39? No, that's not right. At 6 o'clock or something like that in the evening, had a doe walk, and you can see that here, walked right in front of the camera, looked at the camera, big doe. She's been on other cameras, or at least, I think, hopefully we've got 5 or 6 or 8 big does out there that I can take, my pick of. So, there is activity there, just one doe, but you got to do it. So I'll go out there tomorrow morning, and if I don't see anything, then I'm going to go to the other stand that I was in last week, that all the activity was, that I heard that deer snort, and then I'll figure out what to do then. So, alright, well, if nothing else happens, I will see you in the morning. Again, this is more of a deer hunting weekend, more than anything. I've got to do some measurements of the tent for a tarp that will hang on a cable so we don't take the tent down. I'll explain more of that tomorrow and the company that we're working with. So, got Best of Realtree Road Trip 6 on, and then I got the stove going, 60 degrees in the tent, got the ridge light on in the front tent. So, that's what we know. Also in the morning, that is the start of Wisconsin's youth firearm weekend, Saturday and Sunday. So I have to wear orange, which is not a big deal. Calling for 36 tonight, and that may help. cold morning. About 36. The phone showed 38, so it'd be about 30, 38, 36. When I came out of the tent. Had 56 in the tent. It was chilly in the tent. Let the fire go out. Haven't seen anything. Sunrise was 6:24. Legal hunting time was 6:24. And about 7:15 when the wind started kicking up. And I thought maybe something would move then. But haven't seen anything. And like I said last night, that trail camera had that doe a couple of times on it, right in front of it, and 15 yards that way on that trail. So there's a frontal system moving in this evening. It's supposed to have thunderstorms tonight around 10 to 11. So I'm going to go into that stand that I was in last weekend, that all the deer were around the previous week. I want to pull the trail camera data this afternoon, mid-afternoon, when nothing's moving around, and see what's on that one, because I know it's going to be the same as this one, where a lot of pictures weren't taken. So that's where we're at. Thought this would be a little more active this morning. But also I was watching last night Realtree Road Trips Best of Season 6, which would have been 2008, I guess, give or take. And Michael Waddell was in Kansas for 7 days, hunted 7 days straight in Kansas, never pulled the bow back. You gotta wait for the opportunity like last year. Saw 3 deer total while bow hunting. 2 does behind me on one stand, and then that spiked buck. Pulled back 1 time last year, shot 1 time, harvested 1 deer. I'd much rather do that than fling arrows at deer and miss them or wound them and not be able to get them. So we'll see if tonight does any better. Really nice morning. Besides, I was underestimated the cold factor. It's quite chilly right now. So I'll head back to the tent in a few minutes. And got some projects there that I want to do. Back at camp, quite windy, which forecast for 20-mile-an-hour winds today. Starting to warm up, still 55 in the tent. Outside here, let's take a gander and see what the old camp thermometer tells us. About 54, 55. Yeah, so just feels cooler in the tent. So it's mid-morning. I stayed in the stand about 45 minutes after I last talked to you about getting down because it was nice, but based on the camera, that is an evening stand potentially. It is windy, really rocking up here, but I know deer move in the wind. I just don't know how much. That's what I came up here for, was to hunt, not sit in the tail on a windy day. So we'll see what happens. Well, that was a no-go. There was pockets of real windy and then no wind and real windy and no. So I'm going to go back out to that stand in the morning. I didn't leave anything out there because we're supposed to get rain overnight, and I didn't want my safety harness belt that wraps around the tree to get wet. And if something happens and it's out there and it's going to sit out there because I'm not going to go get it. Sounds like rain right now. Yeah. Well, it's almost 9 o'clock. Wind's really starting to pick up. It's supposed to get quite windy this afternoon. It was pretty calm there for a while when I got in the stand till about 15-20 minutes ago. Not necessarily a strikeout because the game's not over. But first time I had a deer in a different location, I had it on camera while I was in a different location on the property. So I'm going to give it a few more minutes. I've called, I've rattled. I know there's deer here. We got them on camera underneath this stand. I've got about 3 different bucks and 3 does that have been underneath this stand in the last 2 weeks. So it's a good sign that deer or that doe is underneath that other stand, that means that our location setup is correct. That I found that trail and put it about that stand 15 yards off that trail, similar to this logging road here. So I'm going to get down here in a few minutes. I'm going to walk up to where that's past where that stand is that I harvested all the deer last year from, and go back beyond that and see if they're another 50 or 80 yards and see if there would be a good stand location. I've got 2 more tree stands in the storage tent and enough steps at the house back home to put those 2 up. So I might as well give myself more options and see if I can find a tree that would be adequate for. Beautiful morning. Supposed to be a high of 65 today. Currently it's about 50, so that's where we're at. A weekend of hunting. You got to put the stand time in order to find the deer. It's just that we just don't have a transition area on our property going from food to bedding that I'm aware of. I mean, the food source is just the vegetation on the ground that we see the deer eat on camera. But there's no distinct like alfalfa field or clover field or something where they're going and then coming back. Well, I've been walking around and I came back to the stand in which we were at yesterday morning, and there's the trail camera. And then as I was walking up here, about 50 yards up there, saw 2 does take off running. So clearly it was one that was on that trail camera this morning. And then they took off to your right. I was looking for another spot for a tree stand. So that's kind of a disappointment. Didn't see anything out of that stand. Made a loop looking for other trees to hang tree stands on, and it might be a couple back there. And then ended up circling back to the stand that you saw we were in yesterday morning and Friday night, and then kicked up that doe and that large fawn, or that yearling. I don't think I spooked him too bad, but one of them was in front of the camera this morning. And if you've hunted at all, the challenge, it's hard enough. It's challenging enough in order to get in position and draw back without them seeing you. It's even more of a challenge to get in position and draw back when you have 2 or 3 or 4 deer in the area. It's different with a firearm. You just kind of pull up, there's no movement. So we'll leave the cameras where they're at for this week. If I had a third camera, I'd put it underneath the stand that we were in this morning. Then 3 out of the 4 tree stands would have cameras underneath them. So, but I don't have that option. Okay, it's right around 3 o'clock. I'm gonna head out. You can still hear it raining. However, I got up here at the property about 12:15, and the camera went off, and there was a doe in around the stand that's 80 yards that way that we put up a couple of weeks ago. There was a large spike buck around that stand 10:30 this morning, multiple images. So I'm going to slide into that stand tonight and see if any activity will occur, and if I can get into that stand without spooking anything. And even if I do, it's not detrimental. The rain will be stopping here shortly, and I will be in the stand when that occurs. So we'll get all situated and head out there and see if we can at least see a deer from the tree stand. Saw one deer, and that was, if I'm sitting in the stand, to my right there's a downed tree, and beyond that, about 30 yards-ish, I could hear, even though it had rained for about 2.5 hours before I got out there, you can still hear, I mean it was light to moderate rain, but you can still hear when something's moving quickly through the woods. So I heard that. I couldn't tell you if it was a doe or a buck. I have no idea. It trotted through. I didn't spook it. It was already moving, but not in like a scarce way. And then I was able to look, bend around and look about 30 or 35 yards through the trees. And it kind of stood there and looked around and then moved on off. And that was the end of it. That was the only thing I heard called, grunted and bleated and nothing. So, based on the weather, at 4 a.m. it's supposed to have 57% chance of rain, 5 a.m. 76, 6 a.m. 89, and then 92, and all the way up through 4 p.m. tomorrow afternoon, going to be rain. Or at least that's what it's showing. So, if it's raining in the morning, I'm not going to go out. That, to me, that doesn't make sense for me to do that. Even though we've seen deer on that camera a lot. I'll have to watch the weather and kind of see, evaluate at that point what I want to do. Didn't hear anything. There's 4 or 5 squirrels. And even when I got down, it's dead quiet. No wind. And when you get out of the stand, if you're a hunter, you're going to make noise coming down. You're going to make noise walking. And there's that opportunity that you're going to spook something that may be in the general vicinity of your stand just because you're making noise. You can't not make noise. The leaves are very, very dry. And nothing, I would walk a little bit, stop, listen. Nothing, you normally hear something go, snort or just take off running. And there was nothing. So, I am not certain at this point what stand to go out to in the morning. Because 2 weeks ago, I went out to stand number 1. Let me get the chart for you so you can understand a little bit here if you're new. It may be a glare, but I'll try to. I was right here in stand 4. Right here is the camp, or tent. I got a deer blind there. I got a blind out of pallets over here. 2 videos ago, I was in this stand in the morning, and I had the camera go off on this stand because there was a doe underneath that stand. And then yesterday, there was a couple of bucks underneath, or near this stand here. So, not sure. Not sure what to do. 48 for a low tonight. 48 for a low tonight. And 64 for a high tomorrow. And 52 for tomorrow night. And then Sunday 74 for a high. It's just about 10 o'clock. Couldn't get a better morning. Nice temperatures, clear skies, light wind. If we had a deer harvested, it'd be a better morning, but sitting in the stand, you can't get much better. This is one of the last weekends that's going to be this warm and comfortable. Next week it's supposed to be more chilly. They never got any activity on the other cameras. Now, whether they were able to send something if something was in front of them or not. The stand I was in last night, that camera didn't update this morning, which it hasn't for a number of mornings, but it will take pictures throughout the day. So, grunted and called and rattled a couple of times this morning. Nothing was working this morning. Few squirrels, not many. So, head back down to the tent and plan out the day. A lot of stuff to do today and tomorrow in amongst the hunting. Well, came up empty-handed right at the end when I was getting out of the stand. I lowered the bow down and I looked, and if I'm standing this way in the stand, about 45, 50 yards that way, the big doe and the two fawns came down out of that, off that hillside and ran the edge and ran behind about 50 yards and then arched around and then headed back into the middle of the property. It wasn't something that I did. They were already on the move and they had already decided where they were going to go. They stood there for a while behind me, maybe 15-20 seconds. I pulled the bow back up and loaded an arrow, and then as they ran off I bleated at them a couple of times and did a fawn call, a distress call, and they weren't interested in that at all. So never have seen deer move through that area in the way they did today, so that's good to know that they come off that hillside, or they can. So we've seen them on camera, that doe and twin fawns, I guess is what they would be. So now it's time to change and transition into get things done mode, and then head back out this afternoon and see if I'd like to put another stand up over on this side of the property and hunt in that tonight and see if that creates any activity. So we'll go from there. It was too dark to film. Legal hunting time was 6:34 tonight. And behind me and to the right at 6:30, you could distinctly hear a deer walking, because I've got that old logging road there, and it got within 8 steps of the tree that I was in. I couldn't tell what it was, but I could see this object come, stop, and if it would just walked out, I would have had enough light in that open area to see what it was, and I would have took it, whether it was a spike or an 8-pointer or a fawn or a doe or whatever. So it stopped, stood there for a long time. I didn't even try to turn the camera on because there was no way it was going to film. And then it stood there for about 30 seconds, and then you could hear it go boom, 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 back about 20 yards, and it stood there, and by that point legal hunting time was over. So I'm up in a tree, and I think I've got a deer, which I am assuming it was, behind me 20 yards. So I hoot like a barred owl, and I did that once, and it didn't move, and about 10 seconds later you could hear it kind of walk off back in the woods at more of a brisk pace, but it never snorted, it never blew. So it was a deer of some sort, and for whatever reason it stopped 8 yards or 8 steps below and to the right, not directly, but slightly behind, to my right, and 8 steps from the tree, and probably 1 yard behind the tree. And I would have had a 12-yard shot if it had just kept moving. So I saw that one tonight, and then had that big doe and 3 fawns this morning, or 2 yearlings. They're much larger than a fawn, this morning. So tomorrow I'm going to go out to this stand that I was in last night, Friday night, the stand that put up a couple of weeks ago, and See if that does anything. I don't have answers. I don't have distinct bedding areas to feeding areas. I have 40 acres of woods that is in combination with an adjacent 1.5 million acres of woods with corn, soybean fields many, many miles away from the location. So, well, it's 10 o'clock. I haven't seen anything. Very comfortable morning to sit in a stand about 55, 60 degrees. A high today of 72. Then tomorrow it's supposed to be 72 up here. Tuesday 72, and then Friday or Wednesday 49 for a high, 48. Front comes through, and the next weekend it's supposed to be highs in the mid 50s and lows in the upper 20s, low 30s. So a dramatic change in the next 5 days up here. Yeah, I didn't see anything. So I don't know. Disappointing. Been in the stand 2 hours. It's rounded. 2, 6, 9, by 11 hours in the last 3 days. Had that one deer last night. The silhouette or the brown blob of whatever it was come in underneath me with 3 minutes to go. It didn't blow, it didn't snort, it didn't do anything. It just stopped, then trotted back. Had that doe and the 2 yearlings yesterday morning, 45, 50 yards behind me, circling around. They were already on the move from something else. And so I've seen more deer yesterday in 2 different stands than I have seen the entire year in all the stands that I've been in. And most of last year only saw 5 deer from the stand and harvested 3 of them. So, but we've got a lot of deer on camera though, a lot of bucks on camera. So I don't know. I will see you back at camp momentarily. Holly's going to stay back at camp, read a book, and then get supper ready when the time is appropriate. I'm going to head out to the stand and see what I can do. Alright, so no, heard one squirrel barking, saw one squirrel, and then you heard the owls, and I heard the owls too. They must have been back over behind the tent. So, other than that, it got kind of cold in the stand there at the end. When that wind died down, we were dealing with 20-mile-an-hour winds for a while. I was in the stand that we put up last week. So, well, 30 degrees this morning. Saw one squirrel. Did some grunting and rattling. Pretty chilly in the stand this morning. Gonna head back to the tent. Not gonna stay in the stand as long today in the morning because Holly's here. Get back to the tent, get breakfast made. Then we'll probably hang that cable. I don't know where all the deer have gone. Haven't seen many on trail camera either this week. Usually we have, decent activity, but mostly every leaf has come down in the last week, so dead quiet this morning. But just no activity. The woods is really quiet. I'll see you back at camp. Another weekend here, extended weekend here up at the land. Friday afternoon, about 45 degrees, no wind, a lot of vehicles along the side of roads or wooded areas this evening on the way up, probably 6 or 7 already in the stand on a Friday afternoon. I got a 3-hour journey, so saw about 5 or 6 of them. Gonna get changed here completely and then climb up in the stand that we put up a couple of weeks ago along that logging road, or old logging road. Haven't seen any deer activity on the camera, any camera, since 3:12 last Sunday afternoon when we pulled out of the driveway. The camera went off in the middle of the woods, and it was a couple of does, and that's the last activity we have seen. So I will see you in the tree. Well, didn't see any deer from the stand. Walking in, I saw 2 torsos running as I was starting to go down to the curve on that logging road to go in. I saw 2 deer, the back ends of them, run away from me. So that was on the ground walking. Never saw anything in the stand. 41 outside right now, 46 in the tent. Dead silent. We have had a lot of rain up here in the last 2 days, so you could still hear stuff move or walk if something was walking, but nothing was walking. I didn't hear those deer run either. I just happened to see them. So that's where we're at. I'll go out in the morning. Either the stand 80 yards behind me, or the one that's I don't know. Stand number 1, I think, is what it is. Or yeah, stand number 1. Back at camp, already changed. It was 32 this morning. Really got cold in the stand for a while, and then it kind of got warm and got cold. Anyway, the way I'm sitting in the stand, which would be, the stand is positioned in this direction. At my 11 o'clock, about 60 yards off, I did see, I know it was a deer, and it was moving around, and it sounded like it was sparring with another buck, rattling, fighting with the horns. After that, I don't know. I grunted at it. Nothing happened. And I sat in the stand for another 45 minutes. Nothing happened. Walked up in that area where I saw that deer to see maybe it wasn't sparring. Maybe it was just raking on trees. Couldn't find any scrapes or rubs. So, I don't know. Dead silent this morning. No wind. You could hear dogs barking from miles away. So, there's a light breeze now. Well, back, changed, stove going. 50 degrees in here versus 41 yesterday. Sat in that stand for 4 hours. Saw like 3 squirrels. No deer. Did a lot of calling. And then rattled a couple of times. So that's 6.5 hours I put in the stand today. And saw just that torso of a buck or a deer that looked like was a buck that I believe was sparring or fighting with another one out of sight. So gonna get warmed up in here. I gotta look at the radar, see what it shows. Rain coming at 7 tomorrow morning. Legal hunting time is 6, and then progressively it's supposed to rain for Sunday, most of Sunday, all day Monday, most of Tuesday, and then clear out by Wednesday. So I don't know if I'll go. I don't know yet if I'll go out in the morning. I'm not going to sit in the rain, or if it is pouring down rain, I'm not going to go out and sit in a pouring rain. If I was, if I saw 7 or 8 or 10 deer tonight, and 7 or 8 this morning, then yeah, I would definitely go out and try to take an opportunity to harvest one. But that's not the current case. Well, nothing happened there. It got dark at 5:05, and I got in the stand, I don't know, whatever time. Which now is the time in which you can sneak in the woods and do this. 3:46. With the rut kicking in, you can afford to sneak in and hunt an hour, hour and a half. But didn't hear anything, didn't see anything. I thought there was a couple of times where something was coming, but it never materialized. We've had over 2 inches, well, around 2 inches of rain up here in the last weekend. Sunday, Monday, and most of Tuesday it rained. So the leaves are still super wet in the woods. Now around here where it's open and the sun has been able to get to them, they're crunchy and dry. But beautiful night. And well, we will see you in the tree stand in the morning. Cold tomorrow morning, about 25, 26 degrees. So we'll see if that is good or bad for us. "10:15 in the morning. Been in the stand for 4 hours. Haven't seen anything. Really cold morning this morning, 29 when I came out of the tent. It's about 37 now, but it feels like 34. A couple of squirrels, owls, a couple of owls this morning. Had a grouse fly by a few minutes ago. Thought maybe this would be a good spot with this logging road and being in the morning. I've never, this is the first morning hunt I've done out of the stand. Got rain moving in this evening after dark and tomorrow, off and on all day. I will stay in the stand a little bit longer here and then meet you back at camp, change, warm up, eat, do a little project here and there, and then head back out this afternoon. Wind starting to really get picking up on wind now. Really starting to get windy. 5 to 10 is what they're calling for. I think it's a little stronger than that. I am going to head out to the stand, see if I come back with a deer or not. I don't know. Not been promising, as I haven't seen anything from the stand. I think within any reasonable distance. Saw that doe on the 2 yearlings like 3 weeks ago at about 60 to 80 yards. Saw 1 deer torso, a couple of deer sprawling or fighting a couple of weeks ago. way off in the distance. So let's see what happens. Well, my friends, back at camp. I don't know. Been in the stand over a little over 8 hours today, and that's including last night when I got in here late, and haven't seen a deer, which that's not a surprise. Been very limited on deer visualization this year. This evening, the last hour, hour and 15 minutes, it was just dead. There was no. When I got in the stand, there was birds and squirrels moving around, and then after, with the last hour, an hour and 15 minutes, that no birds, no squirrels, no activity, a puff of wind here and there. I did rattle, I did call, I did bleat, did all the things you're supposed to do to try to attract anything that's in the area. I don't know if anything's in the area. Good morning. It's about 8:15. Been raining steady mist all morning. It was louder this morning. I got up at 5, and it was considerable rain, and I just didn't want to go out and sit in the rain. So it has tapered off. More coming this afternoon. So I'm going to slide out in the stand that I was in Friday night and see if this would allow any activity. Sit in the stand for a couple hours, so I'll see you in the stand. Already changed, sat in the stand for 2 hours, had the umbrella up, so it wasn't that bad. Never saw anything, which you weren't going to hear anything. Squirrels, there was squirrel activity, but you weren't going to see, you were not going to hear a deer come up. You were going to see it and not hear it. And just absolutely nothing. So, let this dry out, hang it somewhere. And I'm going to fix lunch, going to just get the camp stove going and heat up the last of those pork sausages and probably pour that rice in the pan as well. I will go ahead and brace the front up like we talked about last night, get that done and clean up, and that's it. It's no need staying here later today than need to be because there's nothing to do. If it was a beautiful day and I was out in the stand and deer were running back and forth, I'd stay out in the stand all day. So that's 12 hours in this morning, yesterday, and Friday evening, and saw about 7 squirrels and 1 grouse, and heard a couple of owls, and this was on three different stands. And I don't know if I'm early on the rut, or, I mean, I've had deer on the camera as late as last Thursday, Wednesday morning, Thursday. So day before I came up here on that stand that we hunted Saturday morning for 4 hours. Friday afternoon, about an hour earlier than normal. Got things done a little quicker. Got up here. It is approximately, it's right about 3 o'clock now. Usually I'm not up here until about 3:30, about 3:45. So I'm going to get changed and head to the stand. Going to go to the stand over here. Tent is here. Normally I'd slide into that stand there, but being a little extra time, we've had deer in that area this week on the trail camera, so that is where I'm going to see what I can make happen, if anything, tonight. Back at camp, changed, did not see a thing, not a squirrel, nothing. Now when I got here and was changing, talking to you, I had the camera go off in the center portion of the property with that large yearling that came, or a large yearling came out and ran down the logging road over there. I did not go over there because I didn't want to spook it, so I went to the other side where I showed you. Nothing. Not a thing. It was so quiet your ears hurt because it was just ringing because there was just no noise. So we're going to go over to that side of the property tomorrow morning. I was here. I'm going to go over here. Right there is where the camera's at, and that yearling appeared. stand for 3 hours. It was extremely foggy this morning. When the security camera took a picture of me coming out of the tent, it was hard to even see the tent. And that's only like 50 feet away. And then everything in the woods here, it was like it was raining for the first hour. And still now when the wind blows, it feels like it's raining because of all the moisture on the tree limbs. Haven't seen anything, very few squirrels. Really damp, cold. Everything I've got here has got a layer of mist on it. It's not frozen. It's just wet. So I'm going to head down back to the tent, warm up and regroup. Did have activity on the camera on that stand I hunted in yesterday evening at 3:51 this morning. There was a doe walking in front eating, which doesn't do me a lot of good, but alright, 2:15. I'm going to head off to the stand. I am extremely overdressed, so I'm going to take my time getting to the stand, getting up in the stand, simply because it's 42 with a wind chill, or feels like 35, and next week for gun season it is going to be 35 for a high and lows in the low 20s. So I want to overdress now to see what I need to change so I can stay in the stand longer next week if need be. Well, my friends, it's just been a deer hunting kind of weekend, and the deer were not informed that they were supposed to participate. Sat in that stand for 2.5 hours, really windy, didn't see anything. Now I sat in that stand quiet, I didn't call or rattle because there was really not a purpose to do such with that amount of wind. So I will go out in the morning to the stand right over here and set an id, and should acquire around 11 plus hours of stand time in Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and shall see if we see anything in this stand. Kind of concerned that this may be a preview of what I'm going to experience next week during gun season or deer camp. No deer. The only thing that I can possibly look towards the benefit of gun season next week is there's going to be many people in the woods. Not just, nobody going to be on our property except for me, but the neighbors are going to have people. I believe this neighbor is going to have. There's going to be people all around the property coming in and out, going to their deer stands. So that may allow for the deer to, if they're nocturnal, being bedded down and then being spooked and jump up and take off running. That type of thing. So I'm going to get the fire going. It's 51 here. It was 55 and I had the door open. So the stove won't need much help. I'll cook corn dogs, and I've got this tomato okra corn mixture here, southern style. So we'll see how that turns out to be. I believe it's going to get down to oh, come back here. Tonight, 42 for a low, 41 for a low, and a chance of rain. So it's going to be quite mild tonight. Now when we're talking next week for deer camp, we're looking at 33 for a high on Saturday, 25 for a low. 37 for a high on Sunday, 28 for a low. 38, 28. 35, 26. 32, 23. Chance of snow on Tuesday, 40% chance, about 1 inch. Gonna be frigid. So I'd be the coldest I think I'll ever be up here since we've had the tent, will be those type of temperatures. Been in the stand for almost 3.5 hours. Wind's starting to pick up now. Expected 15 to 30 mile an hour gust this afternoon with clearing skies. I haven't seen anything in the stand. Now at 8:07, 60 yards that way is where my trail camera is set up. Had a doe walk in front of that. And the tree stand I was in Friday night, which is 80 yards that way, 20 yards to the left of the tree stand is where the camera's at. That's the stand I was in Friday night, and the deer never materialized over here, so I don't know where she went or came from. I'm gonna head back to camp, get changed, some little jobs here and there I want to get accomplished, and then pack up and, well, I want to eat before I go, and then that would wrap up the trip. A little over, right around 11 hours in the tree stand last 3 days and not seen a deer. However, we have seen deer on camera, wind being on the property during daylight hours, Friday afternoon that yearling, and this morning this doe over here, and then a couple of times overnight as well. So next week is gun season. I don't know what will happen. It's not like I'm seeing massive amount of deer every time I'm in the stand and can select what I want to shoot at. Very mild day. Average temperature is 39 for a high. We're going to get to about 48 today, and the average low is 23, and we had a low last night of about 39ish, 40 degrees. Midweek it turns off to be really cold for deer camp. 33 for a high, 26 for a low, in that temperature range for deer camp. Good morning. Had a good sleep last night. Tent stayed warm. 49 in the tent right now. Heating up water for the thermos and some oatmeal. Still very windy. I can still hear the wind. It's not windy, it's like 10 to 20, I think. But I can hear the wind. So I'll get bundled up and head out to the stand and go from there. seen anything. A couple of squirrels. 61 shots I've heard since 6:30. 2 of them was before 6:30. 6:30 was legal hunting time. So I'm not sure what to do. I'm going to stay in the stand a little bit longer because I heard a shot way back over there about 5 minutes ago. Wind has been calm and then picks up and then it's been calm. So I'll stay in the stand a little bit longer and just wait, see if anything moves as we get to the middle of the day here, and then I'll get down, head back to camp and regroup. Back at camp, gonna eat a little bit and head back out. Sat in that stand for 5 hours, 5.5 hours. I got in the stand at 6 o'clock, and then I talked to you at 10:45, and now I got out of the stand at noon. Never saw anything. 84 shots I've heard since I got in the stand this morning. Nothing really super close, but just I like keeping track of how many I hear. So I'm going to figure out what I'm going to do this evening or in an hour or so and head back out. 1:30, going to go to that stand there, or at least attempt to go to that stand. If not that stand, the blind there, based on if I kick anything up heading over in that corner there. So, 8.5 hours in 2 stands total. Saw 0 deer this morning. Heard 84 shots from legal hunting time till noon. And then in that stand there, heard over 120 shots in the 3 hours I was in that stand. I texted the neighbor, Dan, over at Northwoods Dream YouTube channel. And right at dusk, he had the doe and the twin yearlings in his area, and it was 2. I think he only has buck tags. I'm not sure. But those yearlings was over on my property, the center of the property, in this area, in the vicinity of the stand that I was in this morning. It caught camera on them last Monday afternoon, or Monday morning at 11:53. It's a big doe, and they've been on camera all year long. So maybe they migrate over this way, and I get to take the big doe. I don't know. I've got a buck tag, and I got 2 antlerless only tags, and then I've got a buck tag that is only for bow, that is not transferable to any other weapon. So. Per Wisconsin, for 23 consecutive days, I can hunt with either the muzzleloader, the shotgun, handgun. So, I mean, I hadn't seen anything with the bows, so the people are seeing stuff somewhere, because there are a lot of people shooting, and I can't imagine that 200 shots, let's say 150 of them was individuals, because there was several 2, 3, 4, 5 shots in a row, and 150 of them saw deer. Let's just do some crazy math. 120 of them got the deer they shot at. That's a lot of deer that I'm sitting here hearing, and with no wind, I don't know how far I can hear a gunshot, but that's a lot of deer that's went down this afternoon today on opening day. Enough rambling about that. I'm going to get stuff kind of put together here. Put it just like I did last night. Everything's kind of a disaster, but that's the way deer camp is. Would like to get it warm here. And other than that, I believe I will see you in the stand in the morning, and I don't know where I'm going yet. So it'll be a surprise to both of us. Hopefully the deer have got the memo that they're supposed to participate in this hunt, and we can get one of 4 knocked out tomorrow. And then there's snow coming in Monday, 68% chance of 1 to 3 inches. I don't know if that's going to be good or bad. So. Almost 10 o'clock. Back in the same stand I was in last night, because at 5:21 there was a buck that triggered that camera that's 20 yards to my left. Or, yeah, my left over there. So I snuck up in the stand this morning. 91 shots so far today. And it's only 10 o'clock. There was 84 shots yesterday that I heard as of noon. So more shots today. Now, several of them are the same person, but let's just 92, let's just say over, let's say 70 of them are 70 deer, and out of the 70 deer, let's say 50 are taken. Still a lot of deer. Heard a close shot in front of me, which would have been the neighbors probably that I have not met, and then sounded like the other neighbors shot as well this morning. So I'm going to stay up just a little bit longer. Be a 3.5 hours. We're going, yeah, 3.5 hours I've been in the stand. I'm going to get down and go to the tent, and I think I'm going to go to the blind that I put up over on the other side of the property. Calling for 1 to 3 inches of snow this evening and tomorrow, so we may get nothing or we may get 6 inches, nobody knows. If that's the case, then I'll hunt in deer blinds tomorrow morning and then walk and see if there's any activity on the ground. And if there's no activity on the ground, then there's no need to continuing this this weekend, or you know. Been at the tent, warmed up, ate. It's 11:30. Gonna head out to the stand that I was in yesterday morning, simply because that is the one in the center of the property, and see if anything happens there. Not that we had anything that we've seen on camera. I got a trail camera right next to it, but there are times where it doesn't update, so there are possibly pictures of deer on it that are not getting sent. Over the next 48 hours tonight and tomorrow, they're calling for 3 to 5 inches of snow. So if that is the case in the morning, I will hunt in one of the ground blinds, and then tomorrow afternoon the other ground blind. Based on the snow, I'm not really wanting to climb up on a tree stand if I don't feel it's safe to do such. And then I can walk around and look and see if there are tracks or not, and decide what move to make at that point from there. I will see you out in the stand. It's still quite cold. About 32 is right now is what it is. Light winds, light variable winds. Yeah, 32. Well, missed. Got in the stand, was getting settled, and I heard two behind me. So I grabbed the gun, and by the time I grabbed the gun, the doe had, a medium-sized doe had ran there, trotted around, and somewhere back in there, I shot once, and then it came over here and was behind, kind of shot through that brush there, and then it trotted back off there. If I would have been in the stand 10 minutes earlier, it's only 12:15, so a lot of time left. It had come in. It was, I don't know where it had come from or what the deal was on it, but I got 4 more hours. I got 3.5 hours. First time I've missed a deer on the property. Had 3 last year. Took 3 shots and with a gun, with the fawn and the 7-pointer, and then the spike. One time drew back with the bow and hit it. This was the first deer within range all year of anything. Appreciate the opportunity, but couldn't execute the deal. So I missed that deer, missed the opportunity. If I would have harvested that deer, it would have been already butchered out in tubs. So that was on me. Just got in the stand and there it was. By the time I got the gun, it went from 12 yards to 30 to 40 and through timber and thicket or saplings and missed it. Now 5 to 4, I scan the horizon and look for silhouettes and movement. I look for movement, and I saw if I'm sitting in the stand like this at 11 o'clock to my left, I saw a big-bodied deer walking through 60 yards and angling away. Had a small rack. It could have been the one that I saw on camera this morning at 5:21. That's why I went over to this stand over here. But I grunted at it, wanted nothing to do with it. I rattled. It had no interest whatsoever, but it's about 40 minutes before dark. What are you going to do? You got to try something. Snow's moving in tonight. We're in a winter weather advisory from 10 p.m. to noon tomorrow. 3 to 5 inches potential snow. If it is snowing and it looks, it's really coming down, I'm going to stay in and then at daybreak decide what to do. If it's not snowing and they've got it wrong, I'm going to go to that stand and climb up it. If it's light snow and it's not a big deal, I'll go to that deer blind there. This was the stand I was in this morning and last night. I got out of the stand that I was in this evening at 4:54, which is the end of legal hunting time. 5:19, the camera goes off, and the yearling walked right in front of that stand. 5:19, which it was completely dark. And then the camera that I just showed you, the stand I was in this morning and last night, that camera near that stand went off at 5:03. I couldn't tell the deer. It was just a big-bodied deer. Good morning. Welcome to day 3 of Wisconsin firearm season. We are in a rain, sleet, ice, pellet mix right now. Snowed only about an inch and a half last night. They're calling for another 1 to 3 this afternoon. Very, very quiet. I've heard 10 shots this morning on a Monday morning. Gun's getting iced up. Gonna head in shortly and then regroup. but very comfortable. 29 degrees, feels like 26. No wind. In this blind that put up this summer on the hottest day of the year. Thought it would be a good blind, and maybe it will be, just not this morning. So I will see you back in the tent. Additional thing, this blind is made out of 3 pallets, and then I put scrap or limbs in between. What I have found is I need a shelf right here. I can just do some 1x4 or whatever, make an L bracket, or have a back piece and then a top piece and screw that into here, even though it's just to get some stuff off the ground. I can do the same thing over here, and I need a screw right here to hang my backpack to get it off the ground. And I'm sure that'll be the same for the other blind as well, but that'll be a maintenance out of season project. Um, 45 degrees in the tent. Gonna get the stove going. I got this little heater going on medium. It is starting to pick up more on the precipitation, so I'm gonna get the stove going, get things dried out. I gotta do some work. For those who may not be aware, Holly and I have a pretty decent sized terrestrial radio show. It goes into a podcast as well, but we're on 18 AM and FM frequencies, stations in parts of 18 states across the United States, based out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And we are going into season 9 in 2025, and in order to pay for the airtime, which we have to, nothing is given, airtime is not free to anybody. We reach out to thousands of companies each year to get about 30 companies to either renew or come on board and pay sponsorship packages. And that's what I do August through April in order to fund the show each year. So I've got enough hotspot signal here that I already preloaded and dropped 50 emails this morning from last night, and already got several responses I got to deal with. So I will do that. I'll turn TV on, and then if things clear out, then we'll go out again this afternoon, even if it's just for a little bit, just to get out there, and then go out again tomorrow morning, and then pack up and head home and regroup and do this all again next week in a different video. Lighting's bad here, but a little before 2, gonna go to that blind there, opposite of the one I was in this morning. Got in the blind here. Not very happy with what I didn't see any tracks coming in. I'm going to make the call, and we're going to walk the trail to the left here. That will take us to the logging road that will connect us to that blind that I was in this morning. We've had deer on that camera right after dark last night, which means that I might be able to get them before end of legal hunting time. And I'm not just going to sit in a stand because, I built it, I need to set in it to justify it. I don't. I've got a limited amount of time to hunt tonight and tomorrow, and then I'm going home till Friday, and then I've got 2 more days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday for firearm, and then muzzleloader kicks in. So I'm going to do the most practical thing and pull stakes here and head to the other side of the property where deer have been on that camera. And I can walk and loop through the property and kind of see if there's any tracks anywhere. So let's head over there. You didn't see it, it was right in front of me. Oh, thank you, Lord. I don't have to go out in the morning. Here. It's right out there. I knew that others' blind was not going to be a good blind. Alright. That's good. What happened was, there was two of them walking that way. And then this one just kept staring at me, when he went behind a tree, or it went behind a tree. I had my gun pointed this way because I thought they were going to cross. So as soon as it went, I put her down right there, and I got a shot through the neck. It's not the best. It went down, so it was an ethical kill. Let's go see what we got. So here's my stand, or my blind is right there, and it was standing right there. It's a doe, a medium-sized doe. Now, whether this was the one I shot at yesterday or not, I don't know. I'm not going to show it to you, but I did shoot it in the head. It didn't do much damage up there, but it dropped it, and then I went ahead and made sure it was completely dispatched by shooting the with a 10 mail in the chest cavity. But yeah, that was a guided bullet from above. There was no way that I was aiming for the neck, and it dropped. There was another one with it. It's a yearling. I believe it's a yearling. And then there's a big giant doe that I've seen on camera with him as well. So let me get this butchered out, or gutted out, and then we'll hang it, see how much it weighs, and start butchering it. That reads 90 pounds. That's a good sized doe. I don't know how clear that is. I can't. Got it hung up here. I've got the power station, one of the floor lamps, out of the tent, because then I've got two tubs like that and a cooler, and I'm going to butcher it all out and get it down to the skeleton, and then take the meat home and finish prepping the meat for the freezer, because then I don't have to drag the carcass home and do it like I did last year, since we got the deer hanger. First deer on the deer hanger. So got about an hour, maybe 2 hours worth of work here. I don't know how quickly I can break this down, but I got to get skinned, which would be a lot easier this way than laying horizontal. And boy, I thought 90 pounds, that's a good size doe. Very pleased with that. Now that's, and just like that, it is all butchered out. All in the tub here. Skin is there. I got the head behind me. I'll bury the head. I always like burying the head and then turn them into European mounts, even if they're not got antlers. So that will take an hour and a half tomorrow night at home in the warm kitchen on a clean table. And then I took the carcass and the legs and the remaining stuff back over in the woods about 100 yards. There's still a lot of remnants here, but that's just the way it's going to be. So I'm going to get everything in the tent. I scrubbed my hands off, had soap. Big benefit having wet wipes, just so you can keep grabbing them and wipe your knife off, or wipe your hands off to grab something that you need, all kinds of stuff. See you in the tent. Got the deer all butchered up, and in the tub I'll take it home, and in about an hour and a half, 2 hours, that will be in the freezer. Now, if you watch last year's deer camp, which is linked below, we didn't have that deer hanger. Things were very new. We only had bought the property in July, and deer season was in November, so we were constantly evolving the property from just woods and building what we have now. So this one took 2 hours and 15 minutes to from the time I got it to camp, hung up, butchered out in the tub. Carcass in the woods and away from the camp, even though there's still a lot of stuff there. It's just the way it's going to be. Last year, we didn't have that, so I harvested a 7-point on opening day and a fawn on the second day, put them in the vehicle, took them home, butchered them out at home on a table. If you've ever butchered a deer out, which is very easy to do, by the way, having it hung makes everything so much easier to work. You can spin it, you can pull it, and everything. And this was still warm deer. Last year, I didn't butcher them out until Monday. So, and it's a successful deer camp. It's getting quite concerned. You know that old saying, it's better to be loved and lost than never loved at all? Or that saying, I guess I created yesterday, and you know, you can turn that into deer hunting. It's better to have shot at a deer and not gotten it than not to have seen it at all. I think it's better not to be loved and have your heart broken. I think it's better not to see a deer, shoot at it and miss it, and then live with that. But good Lord, allowed me to get another one today, or opportunity, and I couldn't mess this one up for him. There's only so many chances he gives you, so I have to make the best. Now I've got 3 more tags left, one for buck archery, which I don't know how likelihood that's going to be, another doe tag or antlerless only, and a buck tag for firearms. So next weekend for the second weekend of gun season, and then the weekend after that for muzzleloader, and then the weekend after that for antlerless only. Alright, in the blind here. Now 35 yards straight in front of you is where I shot that doe Monday evening. Down there, around the curve, is where I've got the trail camera. And there is older tracks since the snow has dropped in the last couple of days. So we'll see if anything walks through here that we can get a shot at. It is windy and there's a nip in the air. Like I said, it's a wind chill or wind advisory or whatever it is, 4 degrees. But being tucked down kind of in this little logging road outside of the squeaking of the trees, it's not bad. And I think I don't know if it's flurries or just stuff coming off the trees. It's 2:30 now. 2:44. Legal hunting time ends in 2 hours. I gotta confirm that, but right around 2 hours. So we'll attempt to bring another deer home. Well, didn't see anything. Now, the stand in the center part of the property, it had the big doe and the 2 yearlings walk by it at like 350, 355, and 357. They crossed, it would have been literally 10 yards to my left setting in that stand. So we're going to go in that stand in the morning, just be really careful, knock the snow off of it, climb up it carefully because it's going to be icy. But that's kind of where we got to be. It's going to be 8 degrees in the morning. I don't know what the wind chill will be. It'll be below 0. But at least get out there for a little bit and see if we can harvest a doe or one of those yearlings. Good morning. About 10 after 6. It gets light at 6:34. I'm a little behind. Also, I believe it's cloud cover, so that may help a little bit in delaying the full sun or light. So I am going to go back to the deer blind that I was in last night. Due to the fact of 2 reasons. One, I don't want to walk to the middle of the property in the snow and try to climb up in a stand that has snow on it in the middle of the dark. I just don't think that climbing up there in the dark and trying to fiddle with everything is safe or smart, I will do that this afternoon if I don't get a deer this morning. Also, there was that camera that we replaced the battery on yesterday before I went in that blind. There was a yearling on that camera like 4 times last night between 2 and 3 a.m. So there is activity over in that area. Whether I see anything this morning or not, I don't know. Currently in the tent, 48 degrees. It is 11 outside with a wind chill. Let me make sure here. Get you. It's 10 outside, 10 degrees outside with a wind chill of -2. I've got hot hands in my socks and my boots, hot hands warming up here, and we'll go out and sit as long as I feel comfortable sitting, and then we'll come back to the tent. I am happy that I was able to harvest a deer last Monday. Takes a lot of pressure off, but I want to stay out as long as I can, but not in a dangerous way. So, I will see you out in the stand. It did stay about 55 to 60 degrees most of the night in here with the heater on low, and I got up a couple times, put wood in the fire and the stove. Really was not unbearable. It was very comfortable in here, especially if I don't have to go out and go hunting. It would have been fine for the weekend just staying here with the stove going. So. Just took a shot at 30 yards, the deer standing. It's still standing in there. It limped off. So I'm going to give it some time here and see what we end up getting. I hit it. It came up there and then was heading in the woods, so I went ahead and fired off a shot. It's hit. We have another deer down. That is a spike. I did not see that was a spike, which is fine because I do have a buck tag for firearm. And now, next week for muzzleloader, I will only be able to harvest an antlerless only, so I have to be very particular to make sure that I'm shooting a doe. I did not see the spikes on this deer, which he came up that logging road. I'll kind of give you no blood at all, which when I shot the spike last year with the bow, there was no blood. So up there is the logging road. That, if you can see that marker there, that is my trail to go into the stand over there, and 20 yards in front of you is the trail camera that we replaced yesterday, and it went off after I shot. That buck, it came through here and piled up. I put a big hole in the side of it. No blood at all. It was already dead whenever I got here, so I didn't have to shoot it again. Whew. All right. And then I still have an antlerless only weekend coming up if I choose to exercise that and I don't get something next week. All right. I'd say that's about a 70-pound field dress deer. It's 9 degrees with a wind chill of -6, and that's what I came up here for. So, cameras were shutting down. Tried to get it on film, but the camera shut down because it was so cold. So this, in 2 weeks, well, Monday I shot a doe out of that stand, which would have been, or that blind, which would have been over here, and then shot a buck out of this stand on Saturday morning. Last year, the stand in the center of the property was the one that produced all 3 deer. Whew, all right. Let me get this gutted, get my tools here, and then drag it back to camp, hang it up, see what it weighs. Down there, 35 yards away, and then Monday, about 35 yards in there, was that doe that I shot. I don't ever remember seeing this deer on camera. I'm sure it's the deer that's on camera now. After I shot, like I said, the Tacticam sent me a notification, but I can't open it because I have almost no service where I'm sitting at in the woods. Whew, alright, I've got it hung up. This weighed 72 pounds. I already took the scale off. That doe I got the other day, I think probably was about the same. I noticed the way the scale was hanging. I had to adjust the way it was hanging, and it went from 90 to 72. So I'm going to say the doe was 90 pounds because that's what the scale had, and I'm not going to guess otherwise. But, whew. Let that hang for a minute, and then start butchering it out. Very, very happy with that. 2 spikes in 2 years, one with a bow, one with a gun. Got a doe earlier this week, and last year I got a 7-point and a fawn. So 1 tag left. Let me get this butchered out. Well, I got it all taken care of, and then put the carcass in the woods about 150 yards that way. The one from Monday's still there, and the gut pile from Monday, with that doe, it's still where I shot it. So I'll take that home, get that processed through a little shelf up here temporarily. It's a poor design right now, but I just needed somewhere to put sharpener and the knife. So that's going to do it for very happy. I'm really disappointed that I didn't have the kill shot on camera. 9 degrees, wind chill -6, cameras not functioning at that temperature, and having to plug things in to get them charging and all this. So that was a disappointment, but in one realm. But the excitement was we got another deer down. So the reason why I was able to stay out in that blind this morning when it was 9 degrees and a wind chill of -6 was I bundled up in layers. For my boots, I've got 800 mil insulated boots. I have an inner liner sock. I have a normal sock. And then I had put these hot hands that are for your shoes on underneath the second pair of socks. And then I wear 2 additional heavy duty socks, or thicker socks, not sure the material, and my feet have stayed warm the entire morning. And then I've got a t-shirt. I've changed now, but I had a t-shirt, 2 long sleeve shirts, I had this outer garment, I had a kind of like a fleece, and then I had my big heavy-duty hunting jacket, a whitewater thermal jacket that goes with these bibs. Now, the only part of me that was getting cold was right around my midsection. I don't know why. My lower back was cold. Legs were okay, but right around here was cold, getting cold. And then my gloves, I have these mittens, and they are 100% polyester. That's the insulation. The lining is 100% polyester, and the shell is
83% wool and 15% nylon and something else. So I have these, and I have just these thin gloves, and then inside of the thin gloves I have hot hands, and with that combination, and then I have the hood, I have my hood pullover, you saw that, and I was tucked out of the wind, so that helped as well. I think I still would have been fine if I was on a tree stand, but just overdress, 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 and heat, heat, heat. Don't have a Mr. Buddy heater to put in the blind or take in a tree stand, so I utilize what I have, and over the last 4 weeks, as the temperatures have progressively got colder, I have continued to modify each time I go out. Okay, I'm going to wear this many socks, and then with the socks, I wrap my feet with grocery bags. I have all the socks on, like I talked about, the heater pad inside of them, and then I wrap everything and slide it in the boots. The reason being is I found that my feet sweat inside the boots, and then when I come in to switch socks, my boots are still very moist, and then I'm dealing with a wet boot with dry socks that it now is absorbing the heat, or absorbing the moisture. So by doing it, encapsulating it in that garbage, or the grocery bag, I can pull everything out, switch socks, put a new grocery bag in, the boots are dry, I don't have to try to dry them out. So that is how I was able to stay in the stand or in the blind long enough in order to get a shot at that spike buck or any deer that would have come along. I was going to stay until a minimum of 10:30 because I was comfortable, and that's the key. If you're shaking and you, oh, I can make it, it's not going to, it's just going to end in disaster. It's not going to be good. Well, my friends, deer camp 2024 was a success. We'll take this sign down because deer camp is over for me. Next week it's a muzzleloader camp, late season. We'll see if we can drop a doe because that's the only tag we have available. Last weekend when I harvested that spike, it was 9 degrees with a wind chill of -6. 8 degrees the previous night. It was supposed to be 8 degrees the next night, Saturday night, but I didn't stay Saturday. Tonight's supposed to be the coldest at 15. It's currently 20 right now. And then tomorrow, it's supposed to be like 38 and 20 for a low. And then Sunday, 36 and 31, 32 for a low. But I will be leaving Sunday afternoon. And putting up the, possibly putting up the tarp if I don't get anything for the overwintering. If I do get something, I will put it up guaranteed. If I don't get something, then possibly I will come up next Friday and Saturday for antlerless only statewide hunt and try to harvest something with a muzzleloader. That catches you all up to date for those who may not have caught the previous episode or 2 episodes, which are both linked, Deer Camp and Deer Camp Second Weekend, in the comments or in the description below. Heading out to the stand on this 4-wheeler trail, all kinds of tracks leading up to where I go in the woods. Multiple different species, it looks like. Up in the stand in the center portion of the property, variable winds, a lot of tracks coming in, looking for a doe or an antlerless deer or button buck. All are legal for me to harvest. It's not really that cold, of course I'm very warm walking in. I overdressed on purpose. We'll see what we can make happen. When I got up in the stand, the platform had over 6 inches of snow on it and ice. And I've done all I can to get it clean, but every time I move it cracks and pops on the ice and snow. So I brought my heavy jacket out. And I threw my heavy jacket on the platform itself. So I can position my feet if I need to get a shot around behind me. Back at camp, didn't see anything. I heard, whenever I was getting ready, I heard one shot that way, and then got my corn dogs and a piece of fried chicken warming up on the stove. And then I heard one distinct shot that really sounded like a muzzleloader, because there are other things that are open for hunting where I've heard a couple of boom, 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 boom type of things. But there was another shot that was distinct muzzleloader. Went back to that stand, and just because I hadn't been back there for a long time, definitely will be going over to this blind in the morning. I chose that stand simply because it was going to be a mess, and there was about 6 inches of snow on that platform, and that's why I put my jacket down on it to keep the crack and pop of the snow underneath my boots, and it worked really well. But just there was nothing there. There was tracks then and that all around in specific areas, but all the tracks I've seen have had like little snow pellets inside them, so it has snowed since I've walked through. It snowed on Tuesday. Tuesday evening.
10:45. Haven't seen anything. I did hear one shot fairly close. That's all I've heard this morning. High of 38 today. I can tell it's getting warmer. When I came here, I sat the rear of the gun in the snow, and all these little indents were full of snow. Now they're all melting away. We're at about 31, 32, 33, somewhere in that range. Gonna sit here a little while longer and then determine what to do. The sun came out just for a few moments. Just about 11:30. I'm gonna get out of the stand and walk this logging road to the other side of the property where that pallet stand or pallet blind is, and just see what tracks. There's quite a bit of tracks over in this area. See if there's any tracks over there. There's some red pine in that area, and see if they're bedding up over there. If there's a lot of tracks, maybe I'll go to that blind tonight. If there's not, I would come back to this one. Not sure yet what to do for this evening. Then I'll go back to the tent, and then come back at about 1 o'clock. Did a walk around the property, or high end of the property. I'll show you on the map here. I'm right there. That's where I've killed the last 2 deer out in the last week. And I walked down here and then back over to where the tent is. And definitely over in this area, there's a lot of tracks. Over here, very minimal tracks. So I'll go back to that stand that I was in just a few minutes. It's noon now. It gets dark. I think legal hunting time's like 4:45-ish. Something like that. I'll confirm that when I get in the blind again. But ran out of drink. So a cappuccino, used all that up. So I'm just going to take a small jug of water. And then I've got a sandwich already made from last night. Drying out a couple of socks here. And then I'll head back out. Very nice day. A little windy. Other than that, very nice day. So I need to be out in the stand because time is running out for opportunity to take a third and final to fill the tag up. A little after 1 o'clock, back in the same blind. See if we can make anything happen this evening.
Didn't see anything. Sat in that stand from about 7 o'clock this morning to about 11:30, and then from 1 o'clock to 4:45. Heard one shot that was, I would distinctly say, was a muzzleloader. Other than that, no other the camera on the it's 80 yards from that stand around the curve on the logging road didn't go off on anything, and the one in the center of the property that I hunted in yesterday evening, nothing triggered that camera. A lot more tracks over on this side of the property than the other side. Much more enjoyable setting at 40 degrees and real feel of 33 than last Saturday morning when it was 9 degrees and real feel -6. And I thought, boy, today would be just a really good day. The deer would be moving. It's nice and mild out. But then I thought, well, last week it was 9 degrees and -6 wind chill, and that spike buck was moving around. So that theory really didn't pan out.
Real nice morning. No wind. About 35 degrees. A storm coming in this afternoon, possibly, and some rain, snow mix. I don't know if that'll stir anything up or not, but we'll sit here for 2-3 hours. And maybe we'll come home with a deer. A little after 11. I haven't seen anything. It's been dead quiet, no wind at all. Couple of squirrels, couple of birds. I would think I would be able to hear anything walking through the woods of substantial weight. Because we've had it melted yesterday and then it froze, so there's a crust over the snow. Just nothing. Didn't hear, I've heard a couple gunshots, but they weren't muzzleloaders because it was repetitive shots. So I've got a trail camera down there that I'm going to go down and pull because tomorrow is the end of its subscription. And I've suspended the service because there's no sense paying another $5 for a month when it's only going to use for another 5 days. And then I'll go to the other side, that property, the middle of the property, the stand that I was hunting on Friday afternoon. Take my gun, walk over there in case maybe I get a shot at something in the woods, and pull that trail camera, same reason. Then we'll head back to the tent. I'm going to start overwintering the tent by putting the tarp up over the guide wire. I'll explain all that whenever I get there. Got some winter weather mix moving in this afternoon, not going to accumulate to anything. Or not much is what they're projecting. And last 2 weeks we've been successful. This week I haven't seen anything. Well, the last 2 weeks only saw one deer each. I know there's deer out here. There's a lot of tracks. I just don't know where they're at, and I can't just, oh, there's a deer, shoot at it. I've got to be very careful with it because I got to make sure it's an antlerless only. So that is where we're at.
Well, my friends, didn't see anything. Had a plane fly over, a couple of squirrels, had a bunch of ravens flying around and squawking or calling or talking or whatever you want to call it. No deer. Currently, temperature-wise, 13 degrees with a feel of 7, though there is no wind. It was one of the coldest sets I have been on this year, and that one morning it was -6 wind chill with a 9-degree ambient temperature. Got really cold. And I did all my hot hands and my boots and the whole deal, and layered correctly. About 7:20, I had 2 deer down at the very end of that logging road on that curve, way down there. The one I couldn't identify hugged the corner and then walked in the woods. Back over here I could see it walking away. And the other one came off the corner and then went across. None of them came up here like that Spike did a couple of weeks ago. I was able to identify the second one being the yearling that I've had on camera, but by the time I identified it, it walked across and went in the woods. There was no opportunity. I just can't, if it was 2 weeks ago, I would have pulled up and tried to take a shot at it. But we're in antlerless only season, and I only have a antlerless only tag, so I can't be shooting anything that's got anything with horns more than 3 inches long. So I've got to be very careful with what I attempt. So you can see my stand. Here is where those deer came through and went up and funneled back around. There's a lot of trash between the stand and me. I don't know if I would have been able to get a shot off or not. A lot of tracks up in here. My other tree stand is right over there. So they came down that logging road and then went back over here. There's still a lot of tracks, even fresh droppings or recently droppings between me and that stand, so that blind. Just show you what it looked like. Just a few minutes before 2 o'clock. Legal hunting time ends 4:40. Last set of the year. Doing the numbers, last year I hunted a month less and put 72 hours in the stand and got 3 deer. Spike buck, button buck, because it was an antlerless, less than 3 inches, and then a 7-point with a gun. The spike was with a bow and the button buck was with a gun. This year, I got that doe with a shotgun, got the spike buck with a shotgun 4 days apart from this blind, and total, I never drew the bow back at all. I'm around 123 hours of set time. And during bow season we had them on camera, but nothing existed when we were up here on the property. So I can't imagine that I spooked that kind of amount of deer out.
because the deer would come like Monday morning at 7 o'clock, Wednesday afternoon at 3, Friday afternoon at 2, that type of thing. We get an occasional deer on camera overnight while I was on the property. That's why I sat on this stand. That morning I got that spike buck because I had activity. Now this morning again I had that what I identified was a yearling, and probably it was the big doe, and they were just way too far. And you saw how much trash was down there that I would have to shoot through if I was able to get a shot. So we'll see what happens in the next 2 hours and 40 minutes. They're calling for 15 to 25 mile-an-hour wind gusts. It's kind of calm. 27 feels like 16. There is wind, but it's not 15 to 27 miles an hour, or 15 to 25. Now it's calming back down. It'll pick back up in pockets. So maybe those deer will come back. Now in this area right here, when I walked down there and showed you this morning, there was deer droppings right there that had been there for, well, since the snow when they had frozen. Of course, anything you touch freezes. So that's 35 yards. If I can get something right there, boy, we're in good shape. I'll harvest an antlerless deer with the CVA muzzleloader 50 cal. Well, my friends, that's going to do it. That's going to conclude, for me, the 2024 Wisconsin deer season. Bow, firearm, muzzleloader, and late season antlerless only. There is several more weeks of archery available, but I will not partake in that. Well, that appears to be all for for muzzleloader camp 2024. Did all we could and wound up empty-handed. So we will did get 2 deer this year, so very happy with that. So that being said, we'll take the sign down and try again next year. I'm gonna head back to the tent, pack everything up in the wagon, put it in the car, and head home, and Peaceful Pines will rest for the next 16-ish weeks until we return in late March, early April. And at that point, it'll be time for turkey camp. So let's end the video here. Let's put end, E-N-D. For those who have made it to the end of the video, put it in the comments below so I know you've made it this far, as it is the end of deer season for me. Certainly appreciate you coming along, liking, subscribing, commenting, and until next time, I'll see you then.